Bubba Wallace is at it again. This time his latest victim, NASCAR champ Kyle Larson. At least that's how Jonah Jameson would have reported this. Listen, I didn't want to make this video, but sometimes the internet and NASCAR sucks. So, I guess we're talking Bubba Wallace versus Kyle Larson today on Shifting Gears. I'm Alan Bailey, and before we get started, make sure you smash the subscribe button to stay up to date on the latest videos and log on to AmericanRacingNetwork.com for the latest motorsports news. ARN, the Motorsports Authority. In case you live under a rock, and dear God, do I wish I were you right now, Bubba Wallace got dumped at Vegas over the weekend. That's where this started. He was raced roughly by Kyle Larson. Then he retaliated in the worst way possible. Then they both wrecked. He accidentally took out the 20 car of Christopher Bell, then got out of the car, walked across a hot racetrack, and then, his worst atrocity, he pushed a grown man. No! Listen, I know you already have an opinion. These guys do get in their own heads, and there's a lot going on in the moment of the race. And you get frustrated, you get overwhelmed very easily, but when you get roughed up like Bubba did by Kyle Larson, you're going to be a little pissed, especially when it puts you into the wall and presumably ends your chance at a victory. Keep in mind, Bubba had led laps, he was running in the top 10, he was going to be in contention for that win, and in that moment, Larson probably took those chances away, and then Bubba took both their chances away of the victory, and that was absolutely wrong. But what does the one person that he needs to impress, his team owner, have to say about this? Well, Denny Hamlin did actually talk about this exact issue back in 2013, right after he more or less got taken out by Joey Logano. They both did not go on to win that race, and Denny Hamlin took one of the hardest hits I have ever seen in real life. That was a massive hit. I remember that day because I was at the racetrack, on pit road and in the media center, and yes, I was there for the Tony and Joey fight as well. And weeks later, after Hamlin got out of the hospital and started to recover and missed a bunch of races, he sat down and talked about specifically an interview with Joey Logano where Logano was dismissive and actually made it sound like these cars aren't dangerous at all.
3 different instances he had a chance to say it wasn't intentional, and all 3 times he said it was. So there's no doubt in my mind that it was intentional. Did he intend on me getting hurt? I don't believe so. Another thing that bugged me is that he says in his interview that these cars are pretty safe, so I'm sure he's fine. That is taken for granted. What we do is just that we're Superman and we can't be hurt. That's why people don't wreck each other on 200-mile-per-hour racetracks. It's because this is what can happen. You got to think about that as a driver. You can't just throw caution to the wind because no one's gotten killed in 10 years. It's okay to just wreck someone at 200. It's not okay because, I have a daughter now. I'd like to do things with her when I get older. So don't take my health for granted just because you want to retaliate.
Denny Hamlin's words reign absolutely true in 2022, just as they did in 2013, especially knowing that this car is significantly more dangerous to drivers' health and career-ending in Kurt Busch's case. And NASCAR had to respond. We knew NASCAR was going to respond. Did we think it was going to be points or a one-race suspension or money or all the above? And the answer was a one-race suspension, and Steve O'Donnell went on SiriusXM in order to describe the thought process behind this one.
Our actions are really specific to what took place on the racetrack, and when we look at how that incident occurred, in our minds, really a dangerous act. We thought that was intentional and put other competitors at risk. And as we look at the sport and where we are today and where we want to draw that line going forward, we thought that definitely crossed the line, and that's what we focused on in terms of making this call.
When you say you thought it was intentional, how do you come to that determination? What have you looked at to make that call?
Well, we've got a lot of data available to us, and we looked at that data and kind of reviewed the incident from a bunch of different angles. And, in our view and our determination through conversations, that's where we netted out.
What did the data show that led you to the conclusion?
We believed that it was the heat of the moment. action that took place. And, I think you saw through Bubba's statement, if you had to do that all over again, I think maybe it would be a different circumstance. I think we understand that it's a dangerous sport and drivers are out there. There's a lot of emotion. There's a lot on the line. Everybody's racing their guts out, which is awesome for the sport. It's never been better in terms of that. But in this case, we just felt it crossed the line, and we really had to react because it's an action that we don't want to see going forward. And I know fans and people like to compare, the what ifs or what happened in the past. And for us, this was a reaction based on, what took place Sunday and what we don't want to see going forward in races that take place from the competitors, and want to draw that line and be as clear as we can for our competitors of where we stand. Does the fact that the crash itself impacted a playoff driver play any role in this? It doesn't. I think, let me back up. So it does in terms of that it impacted other drivers as well. So when we look at this incident, you're not only endangering one, but there's a lot of cars out there at speed. It's a high rate of speed. It's on an intermediate track. All those things factor in. So it has nothing to do. This could have been race, 2 at an intermediate, and it's the same call. So when I say it does, it does in the fact that it's other cars that are out there competing when you take that action, and it affected multiple cars. So all of that is taken into consideration.
Okay, honestly, I actually believe what Steve O'Donnell's saying right there. Yeah, I think Bubba needed to be punished in some way for this. I don't think it's okay to right hook someone into the wall like that. It's extremely dangerous. Very disappointing that Bubba did this. Does that mean he's a killer and that he attempted murder on the 5? No, that's an extreme exaggeration that's agenda-based. So no, we're not taking that stand here. What I don't necessarily agree with is the consistent inconsistency from NASCAR penalties. I sincerely want it written in the rule book somewhere that if you do this, this is the punishment. If you do that, this is the punishment. Because, yes, every situation is different, but NASCAR originally laid out their L1, L2, L3 penalties so that there would be less confusion. And yet, nowadays, NASCAR officiating is so all over the place and so inconsistent that we don't know which way is up or down. Was Bubba in the right for what he did? Yes, I do think that what Kyle Larson did initially, where he just kind of sent it into turn 3, made it 3 wide, and frankly did something that he never does, and that's run out of talent, as others have said. And I do agree with that statement. That's exactly what Kyle Larson did. He drove it in there way too deep and unfortunately washed up the track, got into Bubba, sent Bubba into the wall. No, that's not okay. That's a really jerk and selfish move. I've done it in video games, but that's video games, not real life. Now, did what Bubba did turning the 5 like that and himself, is that okay? Absolutely not. That is the worst offense here by far. Not just because of the danger of this new car, but because you're essentially turning your car into a weapon. And in the past, when that has happened, NASCAR should have done what they did with Bubba here. They should suspend people. I think that Ty Gibbs should have been suspended for him booping a driver on pit road, potentially into crew members, because like Steve O'Donnell said there, you're putting the crew members, the other drivers' lives at risk by your action, by using your car as a weapon. I think whenever a car is used as a weapon in any form, it should be at least a 1 race suspension, if not 2 or 3, depending on the severity of it. Now, does the severity of this incident mean that this penalty is more or less what it should have been? No, I think that it's exactly what it should have been, because when Bubba hooks the 5, that's the mistake. That's the issue right there, and that's what we're judging. We're not judging the aftermath of where the 5 goes or how many cars are taken out by this action. Bubba was in the right for seeking and wanting and retaliating, but not okay the way he did it. And Bubba knows what he did is wrong. He owned up to it, putting out this statement: "I want to apologize for my actions on Sunday following the on-track incident with Kyle Larson and the number 5 car. My behavior does not align with the core values that are shared by 2311 Racing and our partners, who have played a crucial role in my incredible journey to the top of this great sport. I want to apologize to NASCAR and the fans, along with Christopher Bell, Joe Gibbs Racing, and Toyota, for putting them in the situation in the playoffs that they do not deserve. I compete with immense passion, and with passion at times comes frustration. Upon reflecting, I should have represented our partners and core team values better than I did by letting my frustrations follow me outside of the car. You live and learn. I intend to learn from this. Bubba Wallace. Notice that he didn't exactly own up for the right hooking, but he owned up for the fight, or at least the shoving match. And while I agree that's not okay, and people are saying, oh, he's a thug, and using other racial slurs to describe what Bubba Wallace and Kyle Larson did on the front straightaway. Plus, Kyle Larson did this exact same thing at the LA Clash to Justin Haley earlier this season in a car that was very dangerous that actually moved the wall, but unlike Bubba, Larson got away with it. Should Larson have sat out a race because of this action? Yes. He should have been parked for the Daytona 500 following this on-track incident. That's called consistency, NASCAR. I'd like to see some of it. So Tuesday, NASCAR suspended Bubba Wallace for one race at Homestead, and he will return on October 30th at Martinsville. 2311, after this penalty got announced, put out the statement, 2311 is aligned with NASCAR on the one race suspension issued to Bubba, and we understand the need for the series to take a clear stance on the incident that took place at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Bubba's actions are not in keeping of the values of our team and our partners. We have spoken to Bubba and expressed our disapproval of how he handled the situation. Bubba has made impressive strides this season, and this experience is an opportunity for him to further learn and grow as a competitor in NASCAR. As a result of the penalty, John Hunter Nemechek will drive the number 45 Toyota this weekend at Homestead Miami Speedway, 2311 Racing. So what do I think of this entire situation? Honestly, I hate that NASCAR is using Bubba Wallace as the first one under whatever this new policy is. I hate that they let others get away with on-track shenanigans, including the 24 car just a few weeks ago, that went unpunished for the most part, that let the drivers continue to do whatever they want. Because, yes, when you look at instances like the 41 at the Roval just a few weeks ago, no, that was Cole Custer listening to a crew chief telling him what to do on the radio, telling him that he had a flat tire, and giving up 3 spots to his teammate in order to make the next round of the playoffs. That was race manipulation, and the driver should not be punished for doing what the crew chief told him to do. But in this case, the driver took revenge into his own hand and used a car as a weapon. And we've seen it happen this season by a couple of other drivers who happen to be white. But NASCAR decides to act when the driver happens to be black. I do not like that coincidence at all. Am I saying NASCAR is racist? No. But I'm saying that the evidence definitely speaks for itself. So if I were NASCAR, how would I handle this situation? Don't use vehicles as weapons in order to let these guys take out their frustrations on one another. Instead, one simple phrase.
Let them fight.
That's right. Just like hockey, give them 30 seconds, let them go at it, driver to driver. No crew members, no NASCAR officials, just let them have at it, because I can guarantee you, the drivers are definitely pro-fighting. Just ask Joey Logano.
In my opinion, and probably not everyone agrees with this, but if someone comes over and lays hands on me, it's game time. Like, you're not going to do that. Like, that's how it. There's a piece of you that needs to keep respect in the garage and or just in life. And I don't agree with the way it all went down, but if someone just blasted me into the wall and then comes over and wants to push me multiple times, we're going. Like it's just I don't know. Like I feel like at some point emotions and things are gonna get, and you're gonna like, no, don't. You're not gonna do that to me.
That was Joey Logano this week on SiriusXM. And honestly, I think it's hilarious that Joey Logano is all for fighting, given that he has a very, very, very long history of letting others fight his battles, or pushing competitors and running away and hiding behind his crew, or just simply getting pulled away by his Penske crew members. Aw, those Penske boys are too delicate to fight. Aw, how cute. And I mean, listen, NASCAR already uses these guys fighting in advertisements, just like Las Vegas Motor Speedway has already done as of Monday morning, including this full-page ad. Yes, Vegas is all over it, and they're definitely using this. And get ready to see this fight for decades to come on highlight reels, let's be honest. So if NASCAR is willing to let these guys just fight and stop using cars as battering rams and making it dangerous for others, I can guarantee you we'd have less fights, higher ratings, and frankly, more entertainment. Because you're telling me you wouldn't pay really good money to watch Joey Logano get into a ring with Tony Stewart. But I want to hear what you have to say. What do you think? Is this penalty fair for Bubba Wallace? Should he have gotten more? Less? Let me know in the comments down below, and hit that subscribe and like button to help support the channel. You can also give me a follow on social media at HeyAlanBailey, and log on to AmericanRacingNetwork.com for the latest motorsports news. ARN, the Motorsports Authority. Thank you so much for watching. For Shifting Gears, I'm Alan Bailey. We'll see ya at the track.